I realized I know absolutely nothing of what the other 50% of the universe has to go through on a daily basis. That's a point of reference for women constantly when they're out. They have to look for and are aware of, when they're by themselves, of the predatory nature of men and stuff.
I gotta say, Confession was quite the interesting little thriller. I didn't know what to expect going in, and I really dug the story and the characters. What about the film really sparked your interest to want to be a part of it?
Good morning, Grant. The subject was sent to me. I get a lot of projects sent to me over the years, and I get quite a few actually. I'm at that stage in my career where I've got more time behind me than I do in front of me, and I'm trying to be very careful about what I choose to do. There's no way to delicately tell this. When I was in my mid 40s, our youngest was about 14 at the time, our daughter Finley, and I thought I should have the conversation with her about dating and stuff like that. And she very politely waited with me, and halfway through the conversation, she said, "Dad, what kind of sex education did you get when you're in high school?" I said, "Well, health class, what they talk about." She says, "What did they tell you?" I said, "Well, how to wear protective sex, and, how to be protective and not get pregnant and stuff like that, and all that things, and wear contraceptives and stuff." And she goes, "Exactly." She says, "Do you know what we're taught?" Meaning women. And I said, "I suppose the same." She says, "No, we're taught not how not to get raped." And I went, "What?" She said, "We're taught how, when we're in public at night, if we're in a ponytail, let our hair down because people can grab you by the hair. Stay away from dark alleys and parking lots, stay in well-lit areas. If you're out for a formal occasion and you're by yourself at night, make sure you're going to carry a pair of flat shoes on the way home because you can't run in heels," and things like this, and it was like a real gut punch for me. And because, I thought I was fairly well heeled and knew a lot of stuff. I was coming from a point of so-called educational privilege. And I realized I know absolutely nothing of what the other 50% of the universe has to go through on a daily basis. That's a point of reference for women constantly when they're out. They have to look for and are aware of, when they're by themselves, of the predatory nature of men and stuff. We're in a society where men and women are supposed to be created equal, but men are more equal. And in some societies, men are a lot more equal than women, and in some cases, not just men, it's women treat other women. And, I have a friend who was sexually assaulted when she went to the emergency ward and to get treated and stuff. The police took her. The female doctor said to her, "Were you drinking, and what the hell were you wearing?" And I went, wow. So the subject matter, when it was sent to me, I thought, this is a story that has to be told. Now, it's not a docudrama where we're sort of like pounding the pulpit of the sins of Calvinistic, sexuality, and from a Calvinistic point of view. It's entertaining. There's a murder mystery involved, but at the same time, underneath, it carries that message that we have to educate a lot of people. And the character I play is this recalcitrant, very stiff in his way, near retirement detective who is being asked to open up a case from 4 years ago by a very young, who I think is politically motivated, assistant DA, played by Miss Backer. Here, I won't have a problem, with Clark, because her last name is Backer. And anyway, she does a really good job. And I go from being this inflexible, why are we doing this? It was done 3 years ago. It was put to bed. Why? And I don't trust her. By the end of the story, I'm a champion for the cause. And hopefully, the arc my character takes is an arc that we want some of the audience to take. People that aren't as versed in this subject matter as we want them to be. Sexual assault, rape, date rape, all that stuff, is almost like a taboo. We don't look at it. I've played I played characters that slaughter and kill people and stuff like that, and but when it comes to the subject matter of rape or sexual assault, it's, for example, this film has had a bit of a difficulty getting on the air, even though it was shot pre-COVID stuff. It's still like, how do we mount this? How do we tell it? And Dana Hansen, our director, who amazing job. She allowed us to come to this project. Most of we're there not for the money. We're there because the subject matter spoke to us, and people, the characters and the actors that came and stuff like that, brought not a comment on the subject matter. They gave themselves over to the characters they were playing. The character of Randall, who's the vilified kind of character, who's the born with a whole bloody silver spoon and knife and fork in his mouth, played by Sterling Beaumont. He does a wonderful job playing that very sort of look down your nose at women, the idea that I want to marry a virgin, but she's a slut sort of attitude, what do you, she's a party girl, and that whole, it's a subject matter that needs to be addressed. And it's done in, I think, in a very entertaining way. Have you seen the film?
I have. I watched it yesterday, and
what do you think? What did you think?
I couldn't agree more. I think it's a subject matter that definitely needs to be explored through the lens of film and TV, and I think this does it in a pretty sensitive way, which I was happy to see, considering this could easily have been an exploitative film, but it remained sensitive to the matter. And
Sarah Hay, who plays the victim, one of the she's one of our female leads, plays one of the victims and all of that. I think does a fabulous turn of sort of like sitting on this turmoil and this fear and this anxiety at the same time, retribution and innocence, and she plays a whole spectrum of emotions. Does a fabulous job on it. Playing the character Alicia. I'll tell you what, some of the, on top of all that, there was some wonderful things that happened. There was like, out of nowhere, the actors that came to this and the people that Dana Hansen hired, our director Hansen, they were actors I didn't know. I had not worked with before. I'd worked with Matt before. Matthew Tompkins, he came up to give us a half a day playing a very stiff and inflexible detective in my office and stuff, and did a wonderful job for that one day. And he's a lead actor. He's done a lot of films and stuff. He came up and did that one bit because he liked the material. John Keyes, one of the producers, asked him if he would do it. He said, absolutely. Wonderful. Rob Giamera, who plays my partner, didn't make his character big. He didn't make it about him. He basically delivered a performance within the realms of what he was given, and he made it very real. You know what I mean? Just wonderful performance, right down. I'm quite proud of this film. Because I think it's socially informative and at the same time entertaining, and that's not always an easy line to walk.
No, it is definitely a tricky one, and so yes, I kudos to you and your team for doing.
No, I'm not patting myself in the back and stuff like that.
Oh no,
I don't do a lot of press on films. I don't. I hate getting involved in the commercial sale of things, and there's a lot of money to be made in the movie industry and stuff, and I'm not always on board with the PR of things and stuff, whether it's huge, ginormous, that's my brother's word, humongous films that I've been in and stuff like that. So I basically I try and stay away from that unless I'm pressured or contractually have to do it. If I come out and support a film, it's because I believe in it, and I believe in this film.
I'm glad that you believe in this film as much as you do, because I agree with you. This is a film that a lot of people are going to really resonate with when they watch it. Of the things you've mentioned, I got to say, I did love the dynamic between you and Clark's character throughout this film, as it grows. What was it like developing that rapport and relationship with her off camera as well as on?
Well, she's an incredibly attractive young lady, and I'm well into my latter years. I just turned 73. And I'm also, I don't want to bore you with acting. I pretty well come to work as the character, and and then I try and throw a raincoat over him in between shots, a binky, sort of like a soother. So nobody wants to deal with that character all day long, especially on some of the films I've played. But it's the only way I've known to not exhaust the people around me when I'm playing a character. And Clark was wonderful. She kind of played the devil's advocate with me. She was kind of like poking the bear all the time. You know what I mean? And she'd say clever little things like, so how's his growl today? And stuff like that, and she'd sort of look. There's a scene I told her what I wanted to do with the project, where I saw the arc taking the character. And there's that bar scene that's shot from behind us where his back's turned, and kind of metaphorically, he opens up to the camera, opens up to her. And that's when that first sort of like, wait a second, where that scale drops from his eye, first scales drop from his eyes, and the armor sort of gets a kink in it, a chink in it. And that scene, and I told her that's the scene that I talked to Dana, our director. I saw that as the scene where it starts, the unfolding, where I'm not just putting up with her, and I see her as not as a politically motivated animal, but as somebody who's not just got an axe to grind, but there is an injustice here. And mea culpa, I may have overlooked this. I had seen it from a very narrow window. And in that scene, I think is really interesting scene. It's a very simple scene, and that's the way Dana directed this. There's nuances in this film that are very subtle. And for a TV movie, in a lot of ways, it is a TV movie. It has a very, very gentle touch around a very, very, very volatile subject matter. And it's got mystery, and it's got violence, and it's got sex, and it's got beautiful women, and it's got me sitting there,
You're always a thrilling presence to watch, whether you're on the right side of things or the bad side of things.
Well, thank you, Grant. Thank you. Yeah, I've made an awful lot of money over the years for people playing baddies. But of the 340 or some odd features, one of my kids actually counted them and said, "Do you realize you've been in 340?" I went, wow. They're like cars that you've owned at one point. You remember them fondly, but you really like walking up to the new one that you just bought. And that's the way it is for me. I'm grateful for having had the opportunity and being given the opportunity to play this character, because those big films I play, they pay me a lot of money, and so that I can affect distribution on something. So I can do press like this and bring maybe some light to some other smaller subjects, which I don't do a lot of. But thank you for doing this. Thanks for wanting to talk about this film.
I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me for it. I'm very excited to genuinely spread the word about this film, because I think a lot of people should see this and should take away the messages from it. And like you say, the mystery element as well, I think they're going to really enjoy.